For 11 long years, a cat and a Labrador had patiently waited for their owner on a train platform, and finally, the day arrived when he reappeared. Dogs are often celebrated for their unwavering loyalty, their devotion to making their owners happy a well-known fact. On the other hand, cats have been unfairly labeled as creatures indifferent to their human companions, only seeking attention when it suits them. However, this heartwarming story defies that stereotype. In a peaceful American town, a Labrador retriever named Lucky and a ginger moggy named Frankie lived a charmed life. Their comfortable home nestled in a friendly neighborhood belonged to their loving owner, a man named Simon. Despite common beliefs that cats and dogs are natural adversaries, Lucky and Frankie were the epitome of harmony. The reason behind their extraordinary bond was that Frankie had been rescued from the streets as a tiny kitten, a few weeks old, and had grown up alongside the cheerful Lucky. Simon, Lucky, and Frankie were inseparable, often found snuggled up together on the sofa or basking in a patch of sunlight. When they weren't napping, mischief was their shared pursuit. One of their favorite activities was taking daily walks together, a sight that turned heads in amazement, seeing the cat strolling alongside a man and his dog. Yet for this trio, life couldn't have been better, until an unexpected event altered their world. Years earlier, before adopting Lucky and Frankie, Simon had joined the Army Reserves. He had completed his basic training but hadn't received any calls for deployment, leading him to believe that he might never be called upon. He had secured a stable job and settled into a happy life with his beloved animals. However, shortly after Frankie's second birthday, Simon's phone rang, and it was the Army calling him to report for duty as a war had erupted. Simon was devastated, not only because he'd built a life he cherished, but also because he couldn't bear the thought of leaving his pets behind. Uncertain about the duration of his absence and whether he would return, Simon knew he had made a commitment to serve when he initially joined the Army. With a heavy heart, he decided to arrange for someone to care for Lucky and Frankie during his absence. He reached out to his best friend, who readily agreed to look after the dog and the cat, promising to take excellent care of them. The day of departure arrived, and Simon, accompanied by Lucky and Frankie, walked to the train station. There he met his friend, who would become their temporary guardian, bidding him a tearful farewell. Kneeling down, Simon showered both Lucky and Frankie with affection, assuring them that he would return, and they would be reunited for a happy life together. After one last heartfelt embrace, Simon rose to his feet and boarded the train bound for the Army base. As the train accelerated, Lucky and Frankie attempted to chase after it, bewildered and longing to be with their beloved owner, unable to comprehend the turn of events. However, the two animals couldn't get far due to Simon's friend holding their leashes. Reluctantly, he took them back to his house. In the days that followed, he noticed a change in their behavior. No longer were Lucky and Frankie their cheerful, playful selves. Instead, they spent their days lying around or sitting by the front door, as if awaiting Simon's return. The animals were clearly suffering from depression due to their owner's absence, and their friend felt helpless. One fateful day, as Simon's friend was leaving for work, both Lucky and Frankie bolted through the open front door and dashed down the street. Simon's friend gave chase, but the animals were too quick. They seemed to have a purpose as they headed towards the train station, the last place they could see their beloved owner. They held on to the hope that they would reunite with him there. Sadly, when they reached the platform Simon had departed from, he was nowhere to be found. For a while, the cat and the dog roamed the train station, desperately searching for a glimpse of Simon. Eventually, they returned to the platform. It was then that Simon's friend arrived at the station. He found Lucky and Frankie patiently waiting near a bench. Initially, he tried to pull them away, but they adamantly refused to budge. After much effort, he managed to get them back home, but their determination to return to the station persisted. This pattern repeated itself multiple times until Simon's friend realized he couldn't keep the animals away from the train station. From that day forward, he faithfully visited the station twice a day to provide food and water for Lucky and Frankie. This continued for a remarkable 11 years. During this time, neither Lucky nor Frankie made any attempts to run away or leave their spot on the platform. Many kind-hearted people attempted to adopt them, but they always managed to escape and return to the train station. One chilly morning, as Lucky and Frankie sat by their bench, a train pulled into the platform. They watched as passengers disembarked, But one person in particular caught their attention, their beloved owner, Simon. Overwhelmed with joy, the dog and the cat rushed towards him. Simon was astonished to see his faithful companions waiting for him at the station, a sight he never expected. Without hesitation, Simon dropped to his knees and embraced his dog and cat in a heartfelt hug. It had been an agonizing 11 years, and they had all aged, but their love for one another remained as strong as ever. After showering Lucky and Frankie with affection, Simon stood up and beckoned for them to follow him. It was time to return home, and they eagerly complied, stepping out of the station for the first time in over a decade. Once they were back at home, Simon called his friend to inquire about why his animals had been at the train station. His friend recounted the entire story, explaining how, no matter what anyone tried, Lucky and Frankie refused to leave the station without Simon. Simon was deeply moved by his pet's unwavering loyalty. He never imagined they would wait for him for so long and endure so much. To show his appreciation, Simon spoiled both the Labrador Retriever and the Moggy with all the love and care they could ever need. Even though they were in their twilight years, Simon was determined to fill their lives with happiness. As for Lucky and Frankie, they were simply thrilled to be reunited with their beloved owner once more. What an incredibly heartwarming story. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons for more amazing tales like this.